What's going on, world? We are back. More UFC content. I'm literally trying to do as much as I possibly can to fill in this 2-week gap because, again, it's killing me. No UFC events until January 14th. But today, I am giving you 5 bold predictions that will happen in 2023 in the UFC. Let's get right into it. Waste no time. Number 1, Bo Nickel ends the year top 5. You've seen this guy. You follow MMA, you follow the UFC, you know Bo Nickel, 3-time NCAA Division I champion in wrestling, 2 times in the Dana White Contender Series. He had to go through it 2 times, in which he was, a minus 1,000 favorite both times, probably higher, and easy money. Easy money, both round 1 finishes within 52 seconds and a minute and 2 seconds. The hype is real, guys. I believe in this guy. And he was supposed to fight at UFC 282 at the end of the year in 2022, but we didn't get to see that happen. But he is staying optimistic. He's positive that he's going to at least fight 3 times. He wants to fight 4 times in 2023. And he's in the middleweight division. That is a thin division. We just saw a guy like Darren Till. He's sitting at the number 15 spot. Chris Curtis, number 14. Gastelum at number 13. You're telling me that Bo Nickel isn't capable of climbing the ranks that quickly? If he truly wants to fight 4 times, I think the UFC is going to push this guy. And I could very well see him finishing 2023 in the top 5. And he could be looking at title contention early 2024. That's prediction number 1. Number 2, Colby Covington wins his first undisputed belt. Now, we already know Colby Covington, I think it was around 2018. He was an interim champ, but every time he actually challenged for the belt, Kamaru Usman, one of the greatest fighters of all time, stood in his way. So this is how I see this going down. I think there's 2 ways that Colby can win this. Number 1, we know Kamaru Usman might be out of his fight with Leon Edwards, which I think is scheduled for March right now, but there's rumors going around Usman needs surgery or he's recovering from surgery, won't be ready in time. They're going to have to find a last-minute replacement because Leon Edwards, it's taking place in the UK. They're going to want to keep him in there. And there's a short list, and you have to think Colby is high up on that list, right? It's got to be. It's got to be Chimaev. It's got to be Jorge Masvidal, Colby Covington, maybe Bilal Muhammad. There's a couple names in there you could certainly throw in. But Colby could win that fight. We saw Kamaru Usman versus Leon. Yes, outside of that head kick knockout, Usman was just doing what he does. He was just wrestling the whole time. Colby's going to do the same thing. He could beat a Leon Edwards. So he could win it that way. Another way is that we would need to see Kamaru Usman and Khamzat Chimaev pretty much removed from the picture. Kamaru Usman, as I just mentioned, the injuries, the surgeries, they're piling on. He's hitting his mid-30s. I could very well see, even if Usman does return in 2023, he could retire. He could leave the UFC because he has nothing left to prove. Why injure yourself more? Why go through that? You've already accomplished so much. So I could see Usman leaving the UFC. And same thing with Khamzat Chimaev. He could be removed from the 170 picture because is he going to make weight consistently? Is he just going to turn around and move up to 185 out of nowhere? He could do that. So there is a world where maybe Usman and Chimaev are not in the division, and Colby Covington, maybe by default, is the next best guy at 170. So if both of those guys aren't there, maybe there's a vacant belt that takes place later in the year if Usman decides to retire, or if Leon stays around, maybe Colby gets a shot. Those are the 2 options. I think there's a world where we see Colby Chaos Covington win his first undisputed belt. And that would be great. Everybody loves this guy. And the UFC certainly wants to push him. So that's number 2. Number 3, getting a little risky here. Max Holloway and Israel Adesanya will retire in 2023. And really, this is just based off the fact that, 1, let's go with Max Holloway. Yeah, he's only 31 years old. That's young. He should be in his prime. But Max Holloway peaked early. He's considered one of the greatest featherweights of all time. But that happened years ago. And what's happened since then? He's ran into a brick wall in Alexander Volkanovski, who's now won 3 fights against Max Holloway. And we still see Max go in there, and he's facing the highest level of competition, still championship level competition in Calvin Kattar, in Yair Rodriguez. He's just taking unnecessary damage at this point. And then you see after he wins those fights, what's he doing? He turns around. He wants to spend time with his family. He's always posting pictures, videos with his son. He's out on Twitch playing video games. He lives in Hawaii. Dude, what does Max Holloway have left to prove at this point? He peaked early. He's still a fantastic fighter, but why take the unnecessary damage? I could see him walking away from the sport. And same thing goes with Israel Adesanya. I mean, he's going to be turning 34 in July. Alex Pereira just viciously TKO'd him. And what's going to happen in the rematch? I mean, I want to pick Izzy, but it's going to be so hard to do that because Alex Pereira has bricks for hands, and he just has Izzy's number. So what happens if Alex Pereira beats him again? Where does Izzy go after that? He's not going up to 205. He already attempted that. He's already fought Robert Whittaker multiple times. He's lapped the division. If Pereira's there, he's not going anywhere. And again, this is another guy, Israel Adesanya. The fans love him. He has a massive following. Probably makes decent money outside the UFC. He's got a huge YouTube channel. Why risk it? What's left to prove? So that's prediction number 3. Max Holloway, Israel Adesanya, 2 staples of the sport. They decide to retire. Let's get into number 4. I love this one. 155, the lightweight division, is one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC. We know this. So my prediction is the current top 5, not including the champ Islam, Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Beneil Dariush, Michael Chandler. My prediction is by the end of the year, only one of these guys will remain in the top 5. And for my money, it's kind of crazy to think maybe Charles Oliveira is going to see a big decline this year, but he's going to be facing killers. I don't want to say I question his motivation, but after losing to Islam and doing what he already did, just going through the grind, we'll see what happens. But I'm going with Beneil Dariush to be that one guy that sticks into the top 5 by the end of the year. And I think we're going to see all those other guys replaced. Oliveira, Poirier, Gaethje, Chandler, they get replaced by Arman Tsarukyan, by Jalen Turner, by Mateusz Gamrot, and by Rafael Fiziev. It's time for the, out with the old, in with the new. It's really hard to see because Poirier, Gaethje, Chandler, all these guys, they give us fight of the year. They're dogs. They've challenged for the belt multiple times. But I think their time is up. I think this new wave in 2023 is going to come in hard. All those guys I just mentioned are absolute killers, and you still have other guys like Demir, who just faced Arman. I think he's going to be a guy who's a problem. Or how about Guram Kutateladze? He's a problem. Like Pinedo Moicano on the come up right now. He's looking really good. I just think it's that new wave is going to take over in the top 5 in 2023. And I hate to see it, and I hate to say it, but I think it's going to happen. And I think it's going to happen. And let me know what you guys think. I think that's a pretty controversial one. But I think that top 5 in the 155 division, we are going to see some brand new faces because these young guys, these up-and-comers, they are killers. And I believe in all of them. I really do. And that brings us to number 5. Alex Pereira is going to go on the greatest UFC run ever. That includes his 2022, which was historic. This guy, we weren't talking about title contention. All of a sudden, he goes in there, 3 wins in 2022, knocks out Sean Strickland, TKO over Israel Adesanya, one of the top pound-for-pound best, one of the greatest fighters of all time. And what's he going to do in 2023? I personally think he's going to rematch Israel Adesanya. He's going to win that fight. He's going to win the rematch. And I think he's here, like I said in one of my videos, I think he's not here for a long time. He's here for a good time. He's going to go up to 205, and he's going to become champ. Glover Teixeira taking on Jamal Hill. We don't know who's going to win that fight yet, but I think he can beat either of those guys. I truly do. And better yet, maybe we get Yuri Prohaska end of the year. Maybe Alex Pereira goes up there, and we get an absolutely mega fight. But I'm just going to go out there, out on a limb, and say that Alex Pereira beats Israel Adesanya in the rematch, gets that title defense, goes up to 205, becomes champ, and then he just rides off into the sunset. He retires, and we just look at the greatest 2 years we've ever seen in the UFC from any fighter of all time. Absolutely ridiculous. This guy just stole everybody's spotlight. I absolutely love it. But there you go, guys. Those are my 5 bold predictions for 2023. I'm Steve with the MMA Minute. I'll try to keep the content coming. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, guys, we'll see you then.